Thank you very much, Marty. Please sit. Good morning. To the CEO, DCEOs, ACEOs, PS, education specialists, our head teachers, other education officers, and particularly to our partners here in the private sector, thank you for coming. Before I begin, let me apologize for the brief moments that you have been standing. We did not expect everyone this early. So the chairs were set up for just the official launch, and then the exhibition and fair would happen over 3 hours. But your presence here speaks to us loud and clear. Loud and clear. And we've noted it, and we will continue to note it. I thank you for coming this morning. If we ever wondered about the value of a teacher in the classroom, I believe this last year and a half has really defined and underscored for us what that means. The last year and a half, we have seen just how valuable a trained teacher standing in front of a classroom delivering education is. And we have heard the commentary before. Them teachers know what they're doing. I could teach my own child. After this last year, they've been begging, just take these children back. Please, because it's so hard to do. And those of us who felt we could teach as parents understood that with the highest qualifications, degrees and PhDs, teaching is an art that not everyone has. So just now, I wanted to join that competition because I was teaching children for the last year too. And I feel extremely tired and stressed, my own too, because they don't listen, they don't want to do their work. It's a battle. And on a serious note, it has been a year that has offered many the opportunity to see what it is that is required to move this system forward. I have felt acutely, and that is why one of the first conversations Olato and I had when we brought him back on, because he's far too valuable for us to have him in the country and not have him contribute to education. One of the first conversations we had was how to change how we are treating teachers, providing resources, and by that I mean training, cardboard, chalk, and all that, to make teachers more effective. And I have felt acutely that distrust, fomented sometimes by people who would like to divide, because if you take the teachers away, then you have an audience and a membership. Fomented sometimes by the general society's distrust of each other if we look differently or vote differently. Maliciously created sometimes so that space could be made for other people. And it would be wrong of me if I didn't say, genuinely felt, because sometimes the ministry lords it over everybody. And the ministry, by the ministry I mean education departments and so on. So we come into your school, and instead of holding your hand through a problem, we take out the big stick and we threaten. I have never felt suspicious of you. So I want to make that very clear. And that is why, in the face of recent activities, we never stopped. We will relentlessly serve you. We will persistently serve you. We will consistently serve you. I have grown up, and that is why I don't feel any suspicion towards teachers. My mother started teaching at 16 years old as a pupil teacher. Went to CPC, got trained, retired a head teacher at Bel Air Primary, and moved through all the levels. My aunts are all either trained or trained graduate teachers. My grandfather was a headmaster. His brother was I come from a teaching family. My father dabbled in it a little bit until he didn't think it paid enough. But I see and saw firsthand how dedicated my mother was to moving, and she didn't like what were termed the fancy schools. I remember when she had an offer to move to Stella Maris, which in those days was a fancy school, and she thought she could be better served with children who didn't have lunch in their lunch kits and didn't have mothers to even bring them to school. And so she always liked picking schools where she thought she could make a difference. And I saw how sometimes she would, many times, work and work and work because she believed she could bring students up. And I remember the year, I think it was actually my year that I wrote Common Entrance, that she had 5 or 6 students for Queen's College. She had moved them from Standard 4, Standard 5. At that time, it was Standards, Standard 6. And I saw very clearly how work didn't end when you came home. And nobody was coming home at 3 o'clock. You're coming home at 5 and 6 in the afternoon. And work didn't stop. So much so you didn't have time for your own children. And if they didn't understand something, was more likely to get a thump than an explanation. We know in the Ministry of Education how valuable good teachers are. We know how much more we can do as a system to make sure our not so good teachers get better. And we know that the system cannot have space and tolerance for persons who have no intention of accessing any training to get better. We are seeing some serious commentaries through results that we have to talk about, that we have to open the door on. Commentaries that say a child reaching grade 6, writing NGSA, having been with us for 8 years, nursery 1, nursery 2, grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, can't write a single word on that exam paper. Too many for us to say we are doing excellently. We know that there is space for much improvement. We have redesigned, and you will hear about that shortly, the inspectorate. It is led by an expert patriot of this country. And it will not be the same unit that attempts to change us with punitive measures. It's going to be a unit of support and holding the hands of schools through those changes. And you will feel that, and you will understand when we say we are serious. We know in this last year that many teachers taught however you could, online, through worksheets, under your bottom house, and yes, breaking the rules, all of them, and taking your children back into the classroom because you can't reach them on the ministry's fancy headlines. Ministry says, oh, there's online teaching, and you know fully well that means nothing to the children in your classroom because you cannot reach them. And I saw teachers break rules, take the children into schools. 95% of our NGSA public school classes went to school. I'm not sure if you know that, because the teachers took them in. And when officers visited, they said that they were marking books. That is, I saw, an act of love, an act of deep care, an act of wanting to see your children do well. We can't be in a place where we encourage black market education. If we do, we would be failing to respond as a ministry. And it was the teachers and parents who said to us, if we are not to lose children in this period, we have to engage them face to face. It was the teachers that said that to us. I hear a new thing coming up, that we can't talk to teachers directly. We have to talk to representative bodies. I wonder a little bit about that, because representative bodies are supposed to be representing what their members want. And if the members are saying to us openly, this is what we want because we cannot do our calling except we have it, then we need to examine what is the representation the members are getting. We, in this last year, tried very hard in difficult circumstances, not here in Guyana, in the world, to continue to engage our children. Yet we have seen significant learning loss, significant, 2 grades back. Yet we have seen dropouts at the primary school level, at least 1,000 so far. Yet we have seen dropouts before the completion of the secondary cycle, registered to write CXC but didn't turn up to write it. They're already in the back dams. We are beginning to see and feel tangibly the effects of this school closure that has been predicted by UNESCO, the World Bank, UNICEF, and every other study around the world that engaged in trying to determine what would happen and predict what would happen. We can't afford to lose our children. We simply can't. We can't. It would be us dooming them to a life of poverty and a life of hardship, because we all know that the one sure way to be comfortable and have plenty and be able to hear, understand, and interpret things for oneself, the only sure way is through a solid education. And so we have to find ways to do that that are safe in this pandemic. Pandemic is going nowhere. The prediction is that you might get a break in the world by August 2022. But look at how far off that is. What do we do in the meanwhile? What do we do in the meanwhile? I'm very pleased to say that each plan for each school came from you. Came from you. The schools, we gave broad guidelines in the ministry. This is, we don't want more than 5 children in a nursery class at the same time. We don't want more than, we want 6 feet distance between the desk and the benches. We want children to wear masks. We want teachers to be vaccinated. We gave broad direction. Your schools with the PTAs and the HMs sat down and told us how you will do that. You said, Shia will come back to school fully because the whole village is vaccinated, all the teachers are vaccinated, and our numbers are small. You said, Surama, everybody is going to school, head teacher, teachers, because they have a 98% vaccination rate, and no teacher is coming outside of the village. You said North Georgetown will come 7 on Monday and Wednesday, and another 7 on Tuesday and Thursday, because that's how we can keep the classes, keep the COVID protocols by the Ministry of Health in place. Throughout the country, in every region, it was you we heard from. And it's your plan we're trying to implement. And sometimes our failing, I acknowledge it and I own it, is that we don't talk about these things enough. We don't talk enough about how we arrived at a position, and we leave a lot of space for other people to come and say, this isn't working. The people who are using it, telling us it's working. They said this is what they wanted. They said it's working, and they have the freedom and liberty to change it as they go along. So sometimes we need to talk more, and we have to fix that at the ministry's end. We are very glad to say in this year, more than 1,200 teachers have accessed the GOAL scholarships, the Guyana Online Learning Academy of Learning, 1,200. It was open to everyone, but 1,200 teachers chose to do further educations, degrees and masters, and I believe some PhDs also, in education. But I was very pleased to see not only education, teachers use their education degree to diversify, and they're learning other things, 1,200. Very pleased to say that more than 8,000 teachers out of the 55,000 in the country, more than 8,000 teachers registered and got qualified on the Coursera Commonwealth of Learning partnership that we had with the ministry. Very glad to say that we established a relationship with Profuturo, which is a premier training organization out of Spain, where there was a specific 8-month course developed to do innovation and ICT usage, developed and would be very useful in this pandemic. Innovation, how do you use what you have around you to teach? And ICT, how to use technology to deliver education. 10,000 teachers have registered, and more than 3,000 have completed the entire course. All of that for free. During that time, and the usage of internet is not expending the teachers' data, because we arranged with GT&T and Digicel that once you go onto that platform, your data will not be used. Very pleased to say that over the last year, with the shortage of devices available on the world market, we have given to more than 3,000 teachers devices, either laptops or tablets. Various regions had their own programs. Very pleased to say that while unfortunately we have had teachers who have contracted COVID, we tried very hard to support by making sure contact tracing was done in an organized way, where we took on the burden of making the arrangements, as well as support being given to the teachers in the form of a care package. I say that to say we have not been sitting on our hands. In this last 2 weeks, we reopened schools last week, and unfortunately, we have had to close at least 17 in 1 week. Again, someone is going to clip that and make it a program for tonight. But let's take that into perspective. Every country in this world who has found a solution to get their children back in the classroom has had to deal with very similar issues. Very similar issues. All those teachers who became positive, and let me just say, they tested on Monday that you're positive, you didn't catch that in school. You had to get it like a good 7 days before. So let's understand some of those dynamics. Every single teacher has either received or is in the process of receiving a healthy care kit from us. Every teacher has been walked through an assisted process of getting tested and contact tracing happening. In the last 2 weeks, you know there's a Sputnik V shortage, second dose, and that's about to change, but we arranged for all our teachers who needed the Sputnik V second dose to go to specific locations and get that. You might be some in here. We don't talk about some of these things, and we leave space for people who have nothing else to offer you to take away from it. Here's the thing. This country is changing. We hear about the boom that will be Guyana. We hear about the thriving nation that we will have. You are actually the most important players in that. What you do with your children will determine whether they can participate meaningfully and fully in this new country that we're building, or whether they will be doomed to looking on at other people thriving. That is how important your job is. All I ask of you is that you teach the children sitting in your desks and benches the way you want someone to teach your biological child, your niece, your nephew. If you feel right now, today, that you are teaching the same way you would want your child taught, then carry on. You're doing well. But if in reflection here today, you think you can do more, then introspect about what that more is and tell us. Because my commitment here to you today is that we will support your professional development fully. You have my promise on that. We will hold your hand through any obstacles you believe you have in the classroom. We will try to fix very, very strategically and timely, not 4 years down the line. We will try to fix the resource deficit. For the grade 6 teachers who are here, you will know for the first time in the history of this country, in the midst of a pandemic and a bad flood, and when everybody's throwing up their arms and telling us what we can and cannot do, your children received every single textbook and worksheet and past paper they needed so that you could better help prepare them. And you know better than me how that helped you. Those kinds of resources we don't want you struggling for. So you're going to see that. One of our promises when we were asking people to vote for us was that we would provide all the textbooks our children need. We're presently in the process of procuring all the primary textbooks. Very hard task. Textbooks have not been procured in this country for over 3 years, so you got a big deficit that you need from grade 1 all the way to grade 6 and nursery. And you will see books in your hands that you could have only dreamt of having, and in your children's hands. And so you have to reorient yourself about how, with these new resources and this new kind of support, how you're going to be a better teacher. I commit here that we will work with you, and we will work with anyone, any stakeholder. By now you must realize that I don't take things personally at all. We will work with any stakeholder who wants to see the sector do better. But we will not let petulance, personal interest, political intervention stop us from doing what we have to do, because our job is too important. Children, lives, futures, this nation depends on us. So this morning, we're very glad to say, somebody said this was a response to the strike that was called. The insurance people could tell you how we haggled back and forth for a while to get some of the benefits. And it wasn't a hard haggle, just since February, just laying out some practical things teachers need. Pap smears for teachers, important. Transportation, important. This is not a response. This is a genuine interest in checking to see what we can do for you so that you could do your work when you get into the classroom. And you'll see much, much more of that. From last night to now, when we started throwing up that the event was happening, I have personally received at least 10 calls from various businesses saying, we'd like to join. I've received private school messages from teachers saying, we'd like to join. We'd like to be a part of the program. And so I can only see this growing. This is going to grow. It's going to get better. And I'm saying to you that we're at a good place in this country to take this profession forward. Before I go, I want to just say it's always easy. The easiest thing for me to do would be to say, we're in a pandemic. We can't do much. So many millions of children are out of school. So many thousands of schools are closed. And justify a school closure. That's easy. That's the easiest thing for the Ministry of Education to do at this point. The least controversial thing, for now, and I say for now because the same people who are calling for school closures now will hold up dropout rates and bad reports later on to say, see, you did not. We are not acting here based on what people are saying. Our duty is to do what is in the best interest of the children we swore to serve. And when I held my Bible in Parliament and took the oath of service, I did not swear to do the easy thing. It was to do the right thing, without fear, without favor. And that is what we will do. And that is all I ask of you. I thank you and God bless you all. So we have, in the ministry, when I was here last time, because you know I had a previous iteration, I heard that there was this lady, and she's excellent with what she does. And then I had a little chat with her, and I realized, ooh, we can't let her go. So we grabbed her, and she's been there, and she's here again with me now. And there's some documents I don't sign unless she saw it and went through it. She's very thorough, very fair, very quiet, gets it done, very efficient. And in 1971, on Monday gone, what was Monday, the 11th, 13th, she started as a pupil teacher in Santa Rosa. That's in Region 1. So I heard the Region 1 people are over there. Yeah. You gave us a beautiful daughter who has served and continued to serve. And on Monday, she celebrated 50 years of service in education. Come. And so this is Miss Francesca Vera, ours, and I want you to join me in congratulating her for the 50 years of service. Yes. And just so you know, Maruka is a gift that keeps giving. Marty D'Souza, who's presently your Deputy Chief Education Officer for Amerindian and Hinterland Education Development, it's something I created, a post we created last year, so that we could stop talking about equity and whining about how we're not getting equity and actually start acting towards making sure children in the hinterland are equal to children on the coast. And he is from Maruka and Region 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1.
All right, so at this point in time, Mrs. Vera would like to say a few words, so we welcome her once more.
Thank you. Where are we? Good day to everyone. Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Priya Manichan, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Marcel Hudson, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Alfred King, Education Specialist, Dr. Personnel, Special Invitees, all education fraternity. As I stand here today, I would firstly like to acknowledge that I am truly grateful to God for the gift of life. Secondly, I am elated to be honored and recognized for my long years of service in the field of education, starting from a pupil teacher. I know some people want to do the maths, but it's just because I started at the age of 15 plus. So that's why I'm here, completed 50 years on Monday. Much of this recognition during this week, I must give credit to our dear and beloved Minister of Education. She has to take some of the credits for highlighting this milestone, and for that, I am grateful. I am also grateful and pleased with all the teachers across this country, my students across the country. I saw some comments from students that I taught even in Santa Rosa when they said, this was my primary 3 teacher, and from Montrose. So, and it was heart-filling to know that I have made an impact on the lives of so many children who now have their families all across this land. And I can't find words to express how grateful I am for that privilege and for me to be standing here to say thank you to everyone who has supported me. I know the journey was not easy. It was blended with economic constraints, illness, other struggle, and factors on the way. But nevertheless, determination and the will to succeed was there that saw me through. And to teachers and all across this country, I must highlight the importance of education. Through education, we can move to where we want to be and to be who we want to be. So use all opportunity to, for the opportunities, use opportunities that are there now. It's even more now than then. And as teachers, I urge you to be committed, and your reward will be great. As a teacher, sometimes I even forget I had a son then when I was a teacher. I have a son, and he was small. And sometimes I would even spend more time with my students at school instead of him because he was still not in the classroom. But the good thing about it is that I devoted so many time to the students that I had to teach that when their time came, I hadn't to do much with them. For good reasons, they were fluent readers, and they even helped those in the neighborhood. So I think God has blessed me in that way that I give there, and somebody else probably helped mine to do what they had to do. And There are a few words that keep me going, and I would like to encourage teachers. You must, my words or my pillars were like respect, humility, commitment, integrity, and gratitude. Firstly, you have to respect yourself. And you have to respect yourself as a teacher. You're not a teacher only in the classroom. You're a teacher in your community, in the country. So whatever you say and do reflects you as a person. And of course, you have to respect others. You respect authority. When I was in a teacher service commission, one of the commissioners said to the staff one day, even if it's a stick, wrap in clothes and hold that position, you have to give that person the respect due to them, right? So you have to respect authority. And commitment, yes, I know teachers, we are all committed, but I still feel that there are some persons who can do a little more. Because, like Minister, it saddens me to know that after a cycle, let's just take the primary school, after a cycle of 6 years, a child cannot read. How does this happen? I am still trying to figure out. Because as a classroom teacher, I always start with my little diagnostic, see where your child is, or your children are, and then by the time they leave you, they must be at another place, a better place. And so much that in my school, if anybody was here from Montrose would know that they would always want my class because they don't have to go to start doing everything all over, right? So you have to be committed and caring and loving for those children just as if they were your own. Because you are there. Place, as Minister said, you are a very, very important person in the lives of this nation. You are the ones who help to train and educate the doctors and the pilots and all the esteemed positions that we have. It starts from you as a teacher. So you must feel important in the role that you have to play in the lives of children. So teachers, I know there are some who work beyond the call of duty, doing extra, even forgetting their own sometimes, especially in this pandemic period. To those, I commend you, and we are thankful. To those who need to do a little more, please, let us just think of the next generation. We would be gone, a generation is there to come. Let us do our best for them. So teachers, be committed always. And of course, integrity. Always maintain that level of integrity. And as I would say to our teachers when I was an officer then, I would say, you're not being dishonest just if you can't account for something financially, which is dishonesty, yes. But you are also robbing the children when you are not there on time. Take, for instance, 10 minutes before the start of time, when you should be there at 9 to start. Every day you're late. You are robbing those children. Multiply those minutes that you rob or deny those children valuable time. So we must always ensure that we work with the highest level of integrity in whatever profession we choose. And lastly, but not at all the least, we must give gratitude. And today, I cannot express the extent of gratitude I would like to give to everyone here and all those who are listening, and to my brothers and sisters in the hinterland communities. Keep working hard. You can also shine. And God bless you all. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Ms. Vera. Words from the wise. Before we go to the vote of thanks, we have a little surprise piece. I would like to call on the Honorable Minister. Metro would like to present a token of appreciation, so we'd like to invite the CEO of Metro, Avia Lindy, Ms. Avia Lindy, to come forward along with our Honorable Minister. To put a wrap on our official ceremony, I would like to call on the head teacher of St. Margaret's Primary, Ms. Anita Dogra, to give us the vote of thanks.
With all protocols being observed, it's a great pleasure to stand before you to do this honorable task. Now, today is a very special day, and I'm sure all the teachers around the country, from Region 1 to Region 10, they have thoughts in their mind. Likewise, myself, we are very, very happy for this initiative, the initiative of Teachers' Welfare and Support System. Now, it has been in the making for a long time now. We have recognized that we are getting the support we have needed. Now, today's program is of great motivation to our teachers. Now, what is motivation? It is a process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. And one of the main components of motivation is activation. And listening to today's program, we would have listened to all the speakers, and in their speeches, you would have recognized that they are trying to motivate teachers to do better. And we are happy that the Ministry of Education, they have seen it fit at this time, a period where we are going through the pandemic, very challenging period. And we want to say with one voice that we are grateful and we are thankful for this initiative. And we are very thankful that other stakeholders can come on board and recognize and value the efforts shown by teachers. So with today's program, I want to say thank you, Minister. Thank you to all the planning and the efforts you would have put into bringing this initiative a reality. This program, we want to give appreciation to our Master of Ceremony, Mr. Marty D'Souza. He did a wonderful job. Followed by the opening remarks of our Honorable Chief Education Officer, Dr. Marcel Huston. We also enjoyed a poem by Nikhil Sankar, very timely poem. We would have listened to her. Then we had remarks by Mr. Roger Lee, the Managing Director of GTM. Thank you for coming on board to support this Teachers' Welfare and Support Program. Also, Mr. Damian Blackburn, from CEO GT&T, we listened to him virtually. The Managing Director of Metro, and listening to him, he has really supported education in Guyana. I remember as a young teacher, we had to go, whenever we go shopping at Metro, you get your money worth. I can say that. As a student, as a teacher, we go there and we are always welcome by Metro office. We would have listened to the song by Joel, very timely and appropriate song. It was very touching. Thank you, Joel. We listened to the overview by our one and only specialist, Dr. Olato Sam. And I am remembering his speeches at the University of Guyana. I'm sure he's proud with those handsome smiles. I know this is very valuable for him. Then we had our feature address by no honor other than our Honorable Minister Priyamani Chan. And I want to say, Minister, I really admire your passion in the field of education. I am always listening and keeping abreast with what's happening. So we are happy that you would have made this program a reality today, and we look forward for your continuous support. So once again, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all who visited and the media and everyone who put the program together. Thank you.
And thank you, HM, for the vote of thanks. Just some housekeeping matters before we leave. I've been following the thread on the ministry's Facebook page where persons are asking what is there for their regions. Well, I can tell you, if you follow the MOE's page, you will find that every region has a list of businesses that is on board at the moment. However, we are hopeful, as Minister said, that others will come on board so that you can benefit even more from this initiative. Snacks are available at the back. I think one of the desks at the back. As you visit the booth, which will be opened just after we close here, remember GTM, they are actually signing up at the moment, so you can visit them. There's an officer on site. If you're interested in the package, they can sign you up almost immediately. I think that's about it from me. Thank you one and all for being here. Have a good rest of the day. God's richest blessings upon you all. Thank you. Registration is also being done at the desk. You can pick up your ID cards, those of you who have already been registered. Your ID card can also be picked up at the registration desk, I'm thinking.